Urban Strife destroyed my character and my game in an extremely excellent way. First of all, I was attacked by an unexpected zombie. Then I stepped right into the middle of a gang of absolute thugs armed with guns and Molotov cocktails. Quite rightly, they shot me in the face and left me to burn. And I've got to be honest, that's probably one of the strongest reasons why I recommend this game to you. I was shot, stabbed, chased by zombies, attacked with crossbows, pinned down by nail guns, and eventually shot in the face and set on fire. But the game had not in any way cheated me. I had made a series of terrible tactical decisions, and I paid the price. I spent nearly 2 hours testing Urban Strife on the hardest hardcore difficulty setting using the SimShack 7-pillar review system. This covers the opening campaign, tactical combat, scavenging, injuries, crafting, shelter management, and early faction contact. It does not, however, cover the complete campaign or endgame. Having said that, I would like to come back to this game and do a Let's Play session on it and see if I can actually complete the game. That's how much I enjoyed playing the game for those first 2 hours. So Urban Strife's underlying tactical survival systems, I think, are excellent. The world has personality. The shelter gives every scavenging run a real purpose, and failure, I have to say, feels fair. But the game frequently explains itself so poorly that the interface becomes more of a persistent opponent than the zombies are. The question is, though, whether the frustration damages the experience enough to stop me from recommending it. Spoiler alert, no, it doesn't. Urban Strife describes itself as an old-school turn-based survival RPG set near Atlanta after the collapse of civilization. You control a single individual and a growing group of survivors. You'll get to search ruined neighborhoods, fight zombies and armed factions, recover supplies, and develop a shelter before another enormous horde reaches your community. Exploration takes place in real time, but once an enemy detects the squad, the game switches into turn-based combat, governed by action points. That simple transition supports a surprisingly deep tactical system, and I admit it took me a little while to understand that that's what was happening, but as soon as I understood it, I really quite liked it.
Yes.
The depth and gameplay has to be Urban Strife's strongest pillar. Every character receives a limited number of action points, movement cost points, attacking cost points. Everything costs points, reloading, healing, even entering Overwatch mode. They all compete for the same limited allowance. This really forces you to think beyond simply selecting the nearest enemy and pressing fire, although to be honest, I keep doing that anyway. Moving into better cover may leave insufficient action points for you to be able to attack. Another thing I do on a regular basis. Taking a shot may prevent the character from being able to retreat. Entering Overwatch protects an area during the enemy turn, but only when enough action points and ammunition remain to perform the attack. The game also models enemy vision and hearing. Running will increase detection. Crouching, on the other hand, provides a quieter approach for stealth kills. Gunfire and explosions all attract enemies from further away, whilst crossbows and melee weapons provide a quieter alternative. Manual targeting allows attacks to be directed at specific areas of the body, and targeting display predicts both physical and stamina damage. But characters do not simply lose health, they bleed, they become exhausted, they lose stamina and fall unconscious. Medical supplies must be accessible during combat, and another squad member may need to cross exposed ground in order to prevent an injured character from dying. Enemies may also become unconscious rather than instantly die. Leaving them unsecured creates the possibility that they will recover and re-enter the fight. Zombies and humans provide very different tactical problems. An individual zombie is rarely overwhelming, but becomes dangerous when it closes the distance or attracts others through noise. Human opponents tend to use ranged weapons, occupy buildings, and create overlapping fields of fire. Even apparently crude equipment becomes dangerous in numbers. Crossbows, knives, nail guns, and the dreaded Molotov cocktail. All cause serious problems during the opening missions. I found that actions often failed with the response not possible, but without really identifying whether the cause was insufficient action points, range, ammunition, pathfinding, or line of sight. Now, some of the mistakes were undoubtedly mine, but the UI is not that intuitive. It's one of those hurdles you're going to have to get over if you want to play this game seriously. But I have to say, a tactical interface really should explain why a command cannot be completed, especially at the beginning. Urban Strife's combat systems are deeper than its interface is capable of communicating clearly, but overall, I think it's pretty good, and with a bit of time and practice, I think I'll be able to understand exactly what's going on at all times. Urban Strife quickly established itself as a community rather than a collection of menus. The mayor worries about his granddaughter, the doctor requires medical supplies, refugees need useful work. Specialists request materials and facilities. The death of the sheriff leads to an actual memorial service rather than just simply removing the character from the game. It is optional, you don't have to go and do it, but what a nice little touch. It's these details that make the shelter feel like somewhere worth protecting. It feels like home. The approaching horde also connects the story with the management systems. Food is not collected merely to satisfy an arbitrary survival meter. The community may genuinely run out. Defences, they're not improved simply to unlock another progression tier. There's no levelling system here. The shelter is preparing for an identifiable threat, and you have to be ready for it. Now, there are surrounding factions, each of which have their own motives and disputes. Local traders, bikers, moonshine producers, and gangs, all accusing one another of violence, corruption, and dishonesty. The player begins collecting information that appears to be collating an FBI rap sheet, I guess. And that may eventually influence alliances, although I didn't progress far enough in order to really test that, but I could see that the game had implemented this type of information gathering process, and presumably we're going to use that to our own advantage. The southern setting, I think, gives Urban Strife a recognisable identity. The characters joke, argue, insult one another, occasionally produce genuinely funny exchanges, and, more often than not, eke out of me my southern accent, which sometimes is better than others. The writing, I think, builds character, but the lack of performance reduces the emotional impact and slows the campaign down. I would like to see voice actors taking these roles, but I understand that could be expensive. Maybe as AI develops and gets cheaper, all games can have realistic voice acting without pushing the price up too far. Even so, Urban Strife successfully made me care about the shelter and wonder what could happen next. I'm excited to get involved, despite the fact that there are still certain areas I don't understand, like how to take the 4 people that you went scavenging with and get the goods that they brought back with them off them to give to the specialists. I'm sure it's something I'm doing wrong. Urban Strife's audio supports the tactical gameplay effectively. Gunshots, impacts, reloads, even injury responses provide useful combat feedback. The squad members often acknowledge orders, warn when ammunition is running low, and communicate exhaustion or injury. That information reduces the need to monitor every part of the interface constantly, and as I've said, it's not that intuitive, so that's a good thing. Weapons and improvised equipment were distinct enough to allow me to understand what was happening during a busy encounter. However, the audio never became one of the game's defining strengths. I wouldn't say the game had exceptionally good weapon audio. I wouldn't say that the environment was exceptionally good either, and sound occlusion certainly wasn't something that I noticed working in any way, shape or form. The largest weakness is again the lack of any voiced story dialogue. I really think games with huge amounts of text dialogue, I know what they're doing, they're trying to set a scene, trying to explain people's perspectives, etc., etc. I just prefer it if they're spoken, so that I don't have to go into my southern accent whilst I'm playing the game for you guys. Yeah. Minor tactical acknowledgements are voiced while major emotional scenes remain completely silent. That creates a bit of a mismatch between the importance of the narrative and the presentation which is supporting it. I've said it many times before, I just think it's better if they have decent voice actors. Even if they're not that good, I still prefer it to having to read it out myself. Graphically, I think, personally, Urban Strife is more attractive than its old school design might initially suggest. A lot of people will look at this and think, oh, how dated. But the isometric environments contain substantial detail without becoming confused or unreadable, let's say. Ruined vehicles, suburban houses, workshop shelters and interior spaces all feel deliberately constructed, if a little bit repetitive. Walls and roofs disappear appropriately when a character gets close enough to a building or enters a building, allowing the player to inspect interiors without losing the sense of physical space. And obviously there's a fog of war, per se. For example, if a zombie is hiding behind a door, you're going to open it before you know that he's there. Unless, of course, you peek in through the window, which is an option. I'd say the lighting is particularly effective for an RTS. Fires, lamps, and the night and day cycle all give locations atmosphere, whilst helping important areas stand out. It also changes the tactics that you can use to defeat your enemies. The world map is also pretty clear and gives the campaign a stronger sense of geography. Much better than a simple mission selection menu, which may have been implemented instead. It took me a little while to understand where I currently was, but once you get that bit of information, I think the map is really effective, and I like it. I like the look of it. I like the style of it. Character creation provides very few head options and some facial hair combinations, which looked a bit funny in my humble opinion. On the menu, that is, but on the character, they actually looked half decent. Certain routes and interactive objects were not immediately obvious, contributing to an occasional navigation confusion, but I like the characters, I like the enemies, I like the movement zones, and the interactable objects are all generally usable from the tactical camera. At the end of the day, the animation was functional rather than exceptional. Nothing during my playthrough session really sort of caused any issue at all. I didn't experience any serious crashes, just one minor focus disconnect, I suppose, whilst I was playing, but Alt-Tab very quickly fixed that problem. I found the combat, exploration, dialogue, crafting, shelter management, and travel all continued to operate without issue throughout my 2 hours of gameplay, and as such, I'd say that was a pretty stable foundation, nothing really to worry about. The loading between locations was, I think, quite long, which did interrupt the flow between missions and the shelter and detract somewhat from the immersion. But overall, the game appeared to be stable. A weak interface, certainly, some feedback issues and some tutorial gaps, but
Reload done.
Copy.
Urban Strife is a turn-based and heavily abstracted game. Movement occurs on a grid once you're in combat.
This gun's running dry.
Then time is divided into turns. Combat outcomes are represented numerically. It's not attempting to recreate a firefight second by second, but realism is also about whether or not the systems produce believable consequences. And I'd say that Urban Strife performs extremely well in that regard. Weapons require appropriate ammunition, and it's very, very easy to run out. Characters must reload manually. Gunfire creates noise and attracts hordes of zombies. Running can increase your detection. Wounds cause bleeding, and if not bandaged up, you can die from bleeding out. Stamina will affect what characters can achieve, and unconscious squad members require assistance from other players in order to get them back up on their feet. You can be very much controlled by a Molotov cocktail, and ammunition expended during one encounter is no longer available for the next, so it is persistent in that sense. Supplies recovered in the field are used to support the people remaining at the shelter, but thus far I've been unable to get the goods from the other three characters and give those to the specialist. I'm sure I'm doing something wrong there, but I haven't quite figured out what it is. So it's these mechanics which sort of interact with each other rather than operating as isolated features. It all feels like a believable system. It actually makes sense. Using loud weapons will attract more enemies, and additional enemies consume more ammunition. More combat creates more injuries. Those injuries require medicine and medical attention from the doctor, who in turn requires medicine or goods to create medicine from stuff that we have scavenged. So scavenging exposes the squad to further danger. And so the process works. It's like the circle of life. It all works and interacts perfectly. Of course, you've got food needs, fuel needs, construction material needs. All this stuff is required and essential in order to build up the shelter and provide that sort of safe base for you to stay and fight from. The tactical and strategic layers therefore contribute to the same survival problems, but there are inconsistencies. Crossbow users appear to be able to fire repeatedly, but once you kill them and take their stuff away, they appear to always only have one arrow. Unconscious opponents also create an awkward situation in the sense that you can't leave them unconscious because they'll just get up and start attacking you again at some point or other. But you don't want to waste bullets on them, so you have to go and bludgeon them to death, which seems I don't know. There's something about that doesn't seem quite right. I kind of feel like I need to nurse them back to health and correct them from their bad ways and get them to join us. But no, it seems the game has other ideas. It's bludgeon them to death or let them kill you. So those elements do remain game-like, I suppose. But the broader survival model consistently rewards sensible preparation, and it punishes any kind of reckless behaviour, as I found out to my detriment. My final defeat remains the strongest evidence to back this up. The squad was not destroyed by some arbitrary event. It was destroyed because I broke formation. I advanced without support, and I entered an unsecured building, got attacked, and then continued to push forward. The consequences were entirely believable, and it's totally my fault that we died. Final thoughts. Urban Strife is, on the hardest possible difficulty settings, very demanding, a little bit complicated, and frequently awkward. Its tutorials do explain individual commands, whilst leaving broader workflows a little bit unclear, in my humble opinion. Inventory management, for example, is still confusing to me, but I'm sure I'll work it out at some point, and sometimes objective guidance could be a little bit vague. Unavailable actions are not necessarily explained properly, and lengthy unvoiced conversations do slow the campaign down. Now, those are meaningful weaknesses. They are reasons to perhaps dislike the game, or at least lower the score of the game. They do prevent Urban Strife from feeling totally polished and instantly accessible, as its underlying design really deserves. But the underlying design, as I have explained, I think is excellent. Scavenging supports a wider community rather than just filling your inventory, and the shelter provides a strategic reason to care about every single resource that you recover in the field. The characters and faction disputes, which I haven't really got into, but they offer or infer numerous opportunities for coercion and manipulation, perhaps. And the characters and factions disputes with each other also add compelling and exciting opportunities to the game. But most important of all, failure remains compelling. The fact that you can and will die if you make one silly little mistake. Urban Strife ended my first playthrough by destroying me, the main character. And instead of feeling relieved that the review was finished, I actually wanted to restart the game, reconsider my approach, and find out whether the squad could survive better next time if I made better decisions. And I think that's one of the strongest recommendations I can give for an RTS game. I made a mistake, I paid for it, and instantly wanted to start again and see if I could do better. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Please hit the like button, leave a comment below, and let YouTube know that you would like to see more of these reviews. Thank you so much. I appreciate your support.
Need a break.
Yeah. Yo, zombies armor the tricker. Yeah, watch how you slay with a crowbar to the skull, man. There's no other way. Yo, to get taken back to the Ephesians, it you gotta play the main course. The new king in town. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh! Yo. Hey! It's some UK reviews, got a story to tell about the zombies creeping out of the shell. I fire up a game, realism on blast. Caution's my king, I'm not finishing last. They shuffle around, bump into walls with the funny little run, man, it's comical throws. I creep through the darkness, gotta keep it tight. One wrong move and I'm toast tonight. Yeah, zombie, zombie, watch how you slay. With a crowbar to the skull, man, there's no other way. Slice him with a machete, zap him with a stun, or throw a grenade, watch him come undone. Zombies out here tripping, looking real lame. Can't keep up with me, man, it's just a game. But don't get too cocky, don't let your guard down, or you'll be the main course, the new king in town. Sneaking through the level like a sneaky little rat. Got my ear to the ground where the zombies at. Grab the flamethrower and I'm ready to fry, burning up those creepers. Watching them die, they moan and they groan, think they're so tough, but I'm dodging and weaving, man, I call their bluff. From headshots to head stabs, pick your technique. Hit them from the back, don't let them sneak. Yeah, zombie, zombie, watch how you slay. With a crowbar to the skull, man, there's no other way. Slice them with a machete, zap them with a stun, or throw a grenade, watch them come undone. Zombies out here tripping, looking real lame. Can't keep up with me, man, it's just a game. But don't get too cocky, don't let your guard down, or you'll be the main course, the new king in town. Yeah, look at them stumble, they can't even run. Like a baby on the loose, just having some fun. I'm laughing so hard, can't believe my eyes. But remember my friend, arrogance is the prize. Every time you cocky, thinking that you're slick, a horde's gonna catch you, better watch that trick. Played it too reckless, threw caution aside. Thought I was clever, thought I'd take him for a ride. Then I turn around and the crowd's closing in. Oh snap, here we go, this could be the end. Fumbling for my weapons, my heart races fast. This ain't no simulation, it's a real blast. Should've played it smart, but I took it too far. Now I'm dinner for the zombies, a literal star, yeah. Yeah, so remember this tale when you boot up your game. Sim UK reviews, and it's never the same. Cause in the world of the undead, it's a hell of a ride. But don't get too cocky, or you'll end up inside. Yeah, I know you'll end up inside. Woo!